Hi there maple fans, and another subscriber suggested video. Why don't we try finding something that's a little bit different? Hi there maple fans, and in this series of videos I'll be sharing what I do throughout an entire year on a monthly basis. Please note that these months are based on UK timings, but of course can easily be adapted to anywhere else in the world. We've got a 2015 Fireglow, which I think it is great to share because you can see the sort of relative size by age. But Fireglow in the summer sun here in the UK, a perfect name for a brilliant tree, to be honest. I don't have one of these. Must be on the list, the ever-growing list really that you never finish. But what an amazing display. So I think it's very important to include in the garden trees like this that are sort of feature trees for that day. But a great planting, a good spot for it. And just to go back and wide, a nice open form as well, which is going to look okay normally, but on a day like today is absolutely fantastic really. Spreading habit with it's not too cluttered. So another thought with plantings and Acers, if you can see through it, it doesn't sort of block the landscape so much. But overall, what an amazing example of a Japanese maple. So another great example here of a tree that offers something different in terms of textures and bark colour is Acer griseum. And I'm just going to sort of grab down some leaves here. As you can probably see, it doesn't really have the best leaf in the world, but when you come to the bark of this tree, it's absolutely amazing. So I've got a small one of these at home, which is lovely. This one's from 1992. Again, it's so nice when places have this information. Gives you an idea of scale and size planted in the ground. And just a really, really good example. The original one of these is actually in Westonbirt Arboretum, and they think that all of these have been basically grafted, cloned off that original. But it just proves that, you know, while you see this in sort of silver birch and stuff like that, then you can certainly get a paper bark effect in the Acer world as well. Lovely example here of Bywho in 2015. And this tree, once again, you know, okay leaves, perfectly attractive, typical palmate, but it must all be about the fine detail of the bark. And just a bit of learning that these trees with yellow or red bark or pink bark, like the coral barks, do really well during a cold winter. Actually, that's what really brings the colour out. Now this one's been in shade, so it's held its yellow colour, whereas in sun it will tend to change the colour slightly on the side the sun falls, which is kind of interesting really. But it's a nice tree because even the older wood here has retained that colour, whereas on things like Sangukaku, or Senkaki as it's also known, it's in older trees it's only the tips of the branches that retain the sort of pink colour really. But what a nice addition. That's going to look really nice in the winter, not just in the summer, and that colour's just going to get enhanced really. So that's Bywho. And just noticing as well that actually it's a very upright habit, so would fit into most gardens. It's more about height than width. So that's a really important consideration when you're planting in the ground. So I really couldn't resist getting you some footage of this tree. It's Acer platanoides. So this is not the normal Schiroswanum, palmatum, dissectum family of Acers, but Acers actually is a much larger group. So if we just go and focus on the leaves here, they're still kind of palmate, they're still what we're used to, but it is in fact a different species. But I couldn't resist this one. The light shining through those leaves looks absolutely fantastic. So once again, it's about having a garden that's going to look great all year round, and you know, you just wouldn't want to miss this. Brilliant habit, so one single stem, very sort of vase-like above that really. It's almost like a great big wine glass or something. But absolutely brilliant tree. I'll just do a bit of wideness there for you. Doing extremely well in this location as well. But thinking about light transmission through the leaves can really pay dividends. And this is in the right spot. It's quite surrounded by other trees here, but the light can get to it. So consequently, it's a very intelligent planting and something to just think about. And just to say, if you'd like to come with me on my Acer journey, please do like and subscribe to my little channel. It really helps. I've also recently set up a Patreon site, so that's a great way of supporting me too, and help out with some of the costs of my excursions really. There's also the offer of some personal help, if you'd like it, either in a group format or on a one-to-one basis. This is summer gold, as you can see, and is one of the best maples for being sun tolerant, but still light leaved and quite broad leaves actually. Just going close on there. So lovely leaf shape and very good, very sun tolerant. Once more, I would really be careful not to put this out, say now, into full sun. I always warn people of that because it's too late in the season. This has sat here for not just this season but for many years and is completely acclimatized. But couldn't walk past this without showing you. Great light transmission through the leaves, and I think if you look at that relative to the plants and trees around it, it just pops, it just stands out massively well because it's yellow and that's such a bright key colour. But what you'll find is that a yellow tree like that will really enhance sort of darker greens or other maples or other trees around it. So a magnificent tree, and for its age a reasonable size. It's not gone too crazy. In a pot in the ground, certainly one to keep an eye out for. So this is Tennyo no hoshi, and it's 7 years old. So let's have a look at the size of this tree first and why I've selected it. A nice size in the ground. No doubt get a fair bit bigger, but sort of a slow to medium grower, I'd say. So the reason that stuck out to me is really because it has really small leaves. And in terms of texture, that's just offers something different. A big tip here is that the new leaves actually leaf out big like this, and people think, gosh, that's a real problem, that's regression, it's going back to its original form. But it isn't. It's just that some of these leaves kind of weirdly start off a given size and they get smaller as the tree ages, or the branch ages. What we can see here as well, which is kind of interesting, it's one of these trees that's more interesting the closer you get really, is some nice sort of pinky coloration on leaves that get a bit of sun, and these petioles, these sort of really small branches, a lovely red colour. And then you contrast that actually with it's a bit difficult to see, but the green of the branches. So again, it's one of those in the winter, it's still going to have some retained interest. So quick whiz round, but a really nice shape of tree, nice habit, and just worth highlighting. So this one's from 2020, so it's only 5 years old. Interesting to note the protection from perhaps deer, perhaps other animals. And the reason this one caught my eye really was because of the leaves. So they actually are the sort of opposite of a Shuraswanam leaf in that these go all the way cut back to here, but they don't get really thin like Cotonuito, for example. But I think the coloration and variegation is quite lovely. It's sort of not pure green, and it's obviously not pure red either. It's a sort of combination of them both, and serrated. And the more you look at maples, I think you tend to see the same characteristics repeated. But I find this is a really interesting combination of, again, the type of leaf that goes all the way back. It's serrated, the coloration. It's almost like an amalgamation of the genetic traits of several trees. So caught my eye. Shape-wise and habit, quite spreading though. So I think I've mentioned before, just be aware that if you've got lots of horizontal space, that's going to look absolutely fantastic and probably do you a favour and fill a gap really. But if you haven't got that much space, it's going to spread quite a long way, and that may or may not be an issue. So another maple that's really caught my eye is this contifolium, also known as the peacock feather maple. And at this stage in the season, with some light here that we can see on the leaves, and these do well in sun actually. I think we can see why. You've got that coloration. They just get more lovely as the autumn progresses, to be honest. And they sort of flop around in the wind like a peacock's tail. Looking gorgeous, I suppose. Bark wise, quite interesting as well. Sort of a nice green colour, but also tends to have some redness to it. So easy to get hold of, quite spreading though. So again, just being aware that they don't grow very fast, which sort of mitigates that to some degree. But another one that just really caught my eye, and in this little glade almost with the trees around it, it really pops. So another thought, if you're going to plant in the ground, to be honest with you, this is again a reason why I wouldn't put these in the ground, any maple. I'd put them in pots at least for a year or two. I mean, you might have just one day had this in a pot, moved it to this position on a summer's day and realised how great it looks. And that does give you that flexibility, whereas once it's in the ground, it can be moved, but you might set back the tree or you might kill it potentially. I just think it's better to have that flexibility to find that perfect spot really. I think it'd be wrong to talk about standout trees without thinking about either Cotonuito or Kinshi, both of which I've got. This one's just beautiful. And another example where the leaves start out like this is not regression, they will actually get thinner. So that's the old growth here, and that's the new stuff. So it's quite normal. But if we just go wide, really nice tree. You find that these sometimes go a lot redder in a lot of sun. Well, certainly my Cotonuito does. But as you can see here, it's been shaded by a couple of substantial trees and around, and it's kept its green, which is very nice indeed. Nice open structure, and it's not, as we've said, just about leaf shape and that. It's about texture, and it's almost like bamboo-like. It's very subtle. But the Linearilobum which is this kind of tree, is pretty much a prerequisite, I think, for any Japanese maple garden. Just really nice. So every time you go to an arboretum, there's always something new, something more to add to the list really. And there are a lot of similar-ish cultivars, but I think this one deserves special mention. I've not seen this one before, or not really recognised it, but it's absolutely gorgeous. Great planting in some sun, quite orangey leaves, but then some are sort of more red. But what a lovely sort of contrast. Thing to note as well, I think that, you know, in the spring you've got some like corallinums and stuff that are really pinky looking and they look absolutely wonderful. And then perhaps we know about the autumn colours of a Sakazuki, etc. But to add to the mix something like this, where in actual fact you've got some really nice summer coloration too, in the right spot, because that's really going to bring it out, I think is quite magical, really. So another one that's a bit different. Nice little growing habit as well, not too big, but certainly one to add to the list in my opinion.